What's up, and welcome to Knotfest Preludes. I'm your host, Monica Strut, and we're here today with none other than Rou of Enter Shikari. Rou, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So your album, Dancing on the Frontline, I'm really keen to chat about that because it's this real eclectic collection of songs, and it's very cool the way that you've put it together. You've got a bunch of collabs, some BBC sessions. Tell us a bit about the thought process behind putting something like that together.
I think it's kind of the thing where just a massive chunk of time goes by since you released a proper album, and all these kind of things collect really, and you just want to put them out in this this collaborative sort of piece. So we had these live remixes that we were playing, and they were like going down so well, and so we thought, well, we've got to get these finished, and mix them properly and get them out, and that was such a joy to do, and they've become like complete staples in the set now, the Bloodshot remix and the Goldfish remix. Yeah, and then that BBC session that we did was just like loads of fun, sounded great, and sometimes those sessions can just like fly by and you just sort of forget them and they just get left in history. But like, I thought it'd be a good thing to kind of put them out properly, so they're just like a bit more available, a bit more kind of a rigid thing in our history. Yeah, so and then the other tracks that we released, the singles with the other artists, it just felt like putting that all as one package was the thing to do.
Because you've done like some live albums and even acoustic before in the past, so it's kind of nice to kind of capture that and have it as part of your catalogue more officially on streaming and other platforms. 𝐊𝐼𝐒 is a very curious collaboration. I mean, she's absolutely amazing, Australian artist, originally from Sydney. I mean, what drew you to working with 𝐊𝐼𝐒 specifically?
We toured together in America. The last, you know what it's like the last 5 years are just blurred, so like I can't remember which year it was. But yeah, we had a great time and got on really well, and they kindly invited us to their house in Australia, and so this was before Good Things? Before one of the trips that we did there, me and Rob, our drummer, went out early and basically stayed with them and wrote this track, and we didn't really have like a real determined idea or anything in mind, or you know what would happen to it. But yeah, we wrote the track, and it was very like a organic process, and put it out, and it was a lot of fun.
I wasn't expecting that you actually went to their house and wrote the track literally in person.
Yeah,
because you kind of imagine, sorry, you go.
Yeah, no, I'm probably saying what you're about to say. Like, lots of collabs these days just happen remotely, and you just, you maybe do a Zoom or you FaceTime call or whatever, and try and flesh things out, and then you just go off and record things yourselves and pass things back and forward. But I think it's always preferable to be in the room together. There's always it's just easier to develop ideas, isn't it? I think, and it's possibly a bit more authentic, but I don't know. I mean, remote collaborations are they're just everywhere now. So I think it's how people expect to work, really, to a certain extent. But yeah, so it's nice to be able to have these opportunities to do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that you can kind of feel when you're in the room with someone. I imagine that's sort of this intangible thing. So that's quite wholesome, actually. I mean, what about Wargasm? I mean, The Void Stares Back, that's probably my favorite track from that collection. I mean, Wargasm are a band that is constantly pushing the envelope of genres, and they've got such energy, and that's why I think it is the perfect collaboration for them to collaborate with Enter Shikari. Tell us about the writing process for that one.
Yeah, so that was remotely. Like, we've hung out quite a lot. We've done various festivals together. I've come to see their shows. They've come to see our shows. So it felt very a natural thing to do, and it was coming out of I remember playing the Download Pilot Festival here. So this was like the first music festival back after COVID. And it was like a sort of test event, really. It was an incredible, surreal day. But I remember we played with them there. And I think after that, I just had them sort of in my mind. And as I was writing that track, I was like, I can just hear them on this track. And yeah, sent them the idea. And yeah, they were like super excited to get on board with it, and like them made loads of like interesting developments to the track. And we were just passing it back and forward, and it was a really cool process. And I think we were both really happy with the outcome. It's such like a interesting track in the way it kind of weaves and winds and yeah, takes you on a bit of a journey. But yeah, they're awesome people. We always love hanging out. We were actually just in Tokyo with them the other week for Crossfaith's festival. Yeah, it's always good fun.
Oh, I would have loved to be there. How sick. You said in an interview recently, actually, that genres as a concept isn't that helpful anymore. And I feel like this is something that the band has just embodied from the start of your career, this genre bending, unexpected thing. And I'd love for you to talk about like where you're seeing music in the future and what's kind of given you the courage to not, I guess, not fall into the status quo of what people think of when it comes to a metal band or a heavy band.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was something that always seemed very strange to us, that the musical spectrum in its broadest sense was really cut up into slithers, and you were supposed to define your whole existence by like, in almost a religious sense, like praising at the altar of just one slither of the music spectrum. And I think I don't really know where that came from, but I think we were just very lucky to have grown up with lots of different influences, being just outside of London, having different friendship groups who were involved in different music scenes, and just had lots of different influences from my family as well. And so therefore it was very natural for us to make music that was really broad, really diverse. And I think as well, when you're trying to make music that encapsulates many aspects of life, all hopefully aspects of life and the different emotions, the different experiences, you need a broad palette. You need lots of colors, you need lots of breadth. And so that was always a very natural thing for us. So I can understand the concept of genres. I think as humans, we like to compartmentalize things. We like to have things in boxes. It helps us understand them. But it's not the best way to sort of progress things. I think it's also something that's a bit of a downfall. Especially in like education as well. Like I don't think things should be so rigidly into sort of subjects, and topics. And a lot of the times we miss links between things, and even in life, in our jobs, we specialize in very, very like limited things. And sometimes we lose like a certain idea for the bigger picture in life, because we're so like down in the minutiae of everything. So yeah, it's something that I think I'm actually now just quite grateful for, because it's kept it very interesting for us. If we have this breadth and we're able to explore different styles and add them into our music and explore different emotions and things, it means it's always exciting for me to sit down and write music. And that keeps the music honest. And I think that's what people want. They do, they don't want something that isn't genuine. And that's where that there is a sort of sad, asking about the future of music, that there is a kind of sad road that we could go down, especially with AI, where music becomes less and less about authenticity and integrity. It becomes a bit more plastic and cookie cutter and conveyor belt and fake, really. And so I think like there's probably going to be like two trains of thought on that. But it's certainly going to be very interesting. But yeah, authenticity and using music as a kind of a doorway into like the human soul is like the thing that kind of excites me the most.
And that's the thing that AI can't really replace is that intangible insight into the human soul. And when we come in with all these biases around what genre is what, and that's not metal, or whatever the thing is, you do miss out on that spectrum of colors. So it's
yeah,
such
absolutely.
a good point. I mean, speaking of spectrum of colors, you played Wembley Arena about a year ago this week. And I know that you have such a amazing light show and production, which you guys have quite a heavy hand in, from my understanding, is crafting the visual side of things. I'd love to know, how long did it take to prep for that kind of show, and how did you go about putting that together to kind of sync with the music?
Yeah, months and months of work that was. Yeah, for us, like the live show is it's an extension of the central creative idea. The live show is a way to like offer the songs in a way that's perhaps more understandable, or brings like interesting light to different concepts within in the music and within the lyrics. So it's always something that we've been heavily involved in. Both me and Rory design the content. We work with our lighting designer to do all the lighting and make sure everything's synced up. It's very time consuming. It's very like arduous process. Especially when you're syncing up the tiniest like little moments and little like rhythms with certain like light patterns or with visuals. But yeah, no, the Wembley show was I think by a long way our biggest production yet. And it was difficult to bring it all together, but the sheer exhilaration when it was all together was just like something that was, yeah, it was amazing to experience. And I'm so glad that we recorded it as well. We'll be bringing that out at some point this year, probably sooner than later. So the whole thing will be is captured and isn't there for perpetuity.
Absolutely. And one thing that really struck me, I mean, even more than what looked like just an epic evening, is the fact that you donated £1 from every ticket sold, if I'm not mistaken, to smaller music venues. And I just think that that's such an incredible initiative, and something that is probably sorely needed everywhere. But, in Australia, being such an isolated country, that could really help. I mean, do you feel like it is harder for emerging artists and the smaller venues more so now than when, say, you were first starting?
Definitely. I mean, here in the UK, the situation is pretty dire. We lose, on average, a music venue every week, and it's been like that for the last 2 years. And these are the grassroots music venues, these smaller places. They're the places that give fledgling artists their first performances. They're where people like learn the ropes, hone their craft. Is where people discover such a breadth of like nuanced styles um and not just that, but also like community as well. Like there's so few places in life where you can go and find genuine community, and like the music venue has always been an absolute staple for the kind of alternative world and beyond that as well. You look at most of these grassroots music venues, and one night they've got folk, the next night they've got techno, the next night they've got rock. It's they have such you can gain such incredible insight into the breadth of music just by going to these places. So yeah, for us it was a no-brainer. It's just really frustrating that I think there's still like such a core problem where the big arenas who have no shortage of money and income it should be them that are supporting the smaller venues, because they're the sort of the arteries that eventually feed the big arenas with the next year's big stars. But that hasn't caught on, and we're still trying to work with government actually, and with the Music Venue Trust in the UK to make that a thing. Because at the moment, a lot of artists have got on board, and it's been great since we did it. We've had Coldplay, who was it the other week? Sam Fender. There's been some huge, the biggest acts in the world that have got on board with this and done a similar thing with their ticketing, which has been amazing. But we're just hoping now that either the government will start funding these music venues themselves, like what happens in Europe. The opera and sort of high-end art gets a lot of funding, but everything else just has to rough it. So either that will happen, hopefully, or the bigger arenas will start, creating some inflow from their pockets.
Yeah, I mean, good on you. That's absolutely incredible. So hope that keeps steamrolling and keeps building, and the artists start putting more and more pressure on the venues, because I guess without the artists, the venues wouldn't really have any entertainment.
Yeah. They'd just be a bar in a cavernous space.
Exactly. Just staring into the void, and the void does not stare back. That was terrible. I'll cut that. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. Enter Shikari has just such a special place in Aussie hearts. You've toured here so many times now, right from the beginning of your career, and constantly visiting us. You're pretty much adopted at this stage, I would say. So, pump us up. Tell us what you love about Australian audiences.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think Australia was probably the one place that I've immediately felt at home. Like, even when we first played it, we've really struggled with like like America. It's not a private thing that we've struggled there. But like, yeah, I don't know. There's something about Australia where it just feels like a home away from home. I mean, Rory, our guitarist, lived there for a few years as a kid. We've got lots of friends over there, so we feel very connected to it. On the last tour, actually, me and Rob got to do some hiking as well, which was just incredible. I'd love to see more of the countryside and more of the nature and the flora and fauna. So we always have a good time. The energy of the shows is always incredible. We've had some of my favorite shows ever have been there. So yeah, it'll always be somewhere that we'll be wanting to frequent.
Beautiful. Rou, thank you so much for joining Knotfest today. We will catch you on the East Coast at Knotfest Australia 2025, as well as side shows on the 3rd of March in the Sunshine Coast, in Belgrave, on the 5th of March and 6th of March in Newcastle. Thank you so much.
Awesome. My pleasure.